Well, first of all, a couple of characteristics. First of all, the size of it. I mean, Denmark is a country of 5 million people, which means we as a nation is about the size of Chicago. And that's one thing to consider. We are just a tiny fragment of a global market. Secondly, we tend to believe in Denmark that we are very different. We are smarter, more clever. We are on the front edge of things. Generally, we're not. Generally, the trends that you see international in the media market, in the media as such, are the same in Denmark as they are globally, or at least in the Western world, in the developed world. But the third, and I think very important characteristic when you talk about traditional media, radio, television, print, is the support from the government, is the wide range of governmental or state support for the media. This is most clearly in one of the leading television and radio stations in Denmark. Basically, in radio, there's only one company, which is DR, which is the Danish Broadcasting Corporation, which, like the BBC, is an independent, publicly owned, license-financed media organization. But then that is, of course, financed by the public, so to speak, or by the state. But then newspapers, print media, daily newspapers, have some advantages which are also a result of government funding. One of them is that generally in Denmark everybody pays 25% VAT, value added tax, on everything we sell and buy. But daily newspapers are exempt from this tax, which amounts to a huge indirect government support of newspapers. Then another support system is that daily newspapers get distribution support and development support from the government. So all in all, we're talking of more than $1 billion, a little less than €1 billion a year in government support for Danish media. This makes the Danish media unique. You have the same system more or less in other Scandinavian countries. You don't have it in Germany, for instance. Yes, you have the public service broadcasters, but you don't have any public support for newspapers. You don't have it in England. You don't have it in France, as far as I know. You definitely don't have it in the United States. So this government support, I think, has meant that the Danish media market, at least when we're talking daily newspapers and broadcasting, to a certain extent has survived the financial crisis and the general crisis. Not intact, but has survived it, and is not sort of under the same kind of mortal threat than newspapers in the United States, for instance. Secondly, I think in terms of content, and I must admit I'm an ardent supporter of government support for the media, because I'm a journalist, I'm a former news person, and I think news and current affairs is the spine, the backbone of public service. And in this country, you can say, if it wasn't for the government intervention or the government support, we would not have quality news on television and radio. We probably wouldn't have news at all, because news, as we know, is not a very good business, especially not in a market of total of 5 million people. So I mean, the government support is the one that distinguishes Denmark from a lot of other countries.